Jared, what's
Hey,
going on?
no,
How you doing, dude?
Nolan. Good. How are you?
Oh, cannot complain. Just kind of
Good.
getting ready for the day, trying to chop it up. My kid's been up and at it since about 4:15. I'm not like a big, huge morning guy, but
Oh my
shit, I've been
goodness.
after it. You know how it is. What
Yeah,
about you, man?
yes. Especially those young kids. Sounds like you've got a couple.
Man, 17 months and I guess now like almost a month old now. So it's just like
Oh wow.
so we're
Ooh,
like right in it,
yeah,
man. Yeah.
yeah.
But it's
Yes,
something fun.
yeah, it's enjoyable, but man, it's a ton of work, especially early on, right? I mean,
100%.
you've been through it once and now you're back at it again. Yeah, for me, it's we're in a little bit of a different place. We got five daughters total.
Whoa.
Um,
Wow.
Yeah, pretty big family. The oldest
Awesome.
is now 21, and then we got so 21, 18, 19. I take that 21, 19, 15, and then we had twins at the end, and they're
Wow.
11. So we've got two in college, one in high school, and two in middle school.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. And I'm well. I'm very loved, very blessed. But living with six females can be interesting at times.
Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Good
But all
deal.
good.
Very cool, man. Well, yeah, I'm really pumped up to have you. Of course, I don't know if you got a chance to, I obviously introduced you on the call or on school. That's good. That's a pretty cool little platform.
Yes.
Have you down there? You can download the app too. Did you happen to do that?
Yep.
Okay, cool,
Downloaded the app.
cool.
And can you see me okay, by the way?
Yeah. You're looking great. 100%.
Okay. I just want to make sure my video was working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a chance to. So yesterday I just kind of went through, clicked on all the links, downloaded, the various files, resources, things like that. Got school loaded on the app on the phone. So I think I'm pretty good to go as far as like getting everything, gathering everything and getting everything online.
Cool. Well, let me do this really quickly. I'll just so you can have I want to be on the same page as you. So one
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm actually in the kind of the midst of doing right now too, Jared, is I've got a little call him my like mastermind mentor. It sounds kind of stupid, but he's been a huge help for me trying to like basically bring as much value as I possibly can. Okay. And so what I'm going to try and do, I've got a deadline set for myself on February 1st. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
hit the classroom portion here. I'm already starting to have a hey, here's where you start. You watch this video. This is like a quick onboarding call. But then what I'm going to have like 5 of these different modules where going over, hey, this is exactly how to build your team out. These are the conversations. This is step by step, just to where then you can already kind of hop into our live calls that we've had that we're having every week. And
Mm-hmm.
by the time that we have our next live call, you had already knocked out a couple of those things that, I would require as homework, I guess.
Yeah.
And you already might even have something in your pipeline or a couple deals potentially. And then we can start almost immediately, underwriting your deal on the live calls. And then you have
Okay.
something that's on your mind. You say, hey, Nolan, like, let's go chop this up for a second. And then I think what we do too, and I've done this with at least 15 of the people in our group already, is when you have an opportunity and you have a building, you say, hey, I'm looking at this. What we'll do is we'll say, okay, I'll pull up my pro forma. You share your screen and you show me how you underwrote your deal on this pro
Mm-hmm.
forma. And if I'm not sure how much this is it's a little overwhelming out of the gate. I will admit that there's a lot of things, but you're a real estate guy, so you get a lot of this. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but did you happen to scroll all the way over to the right and look at this overview page tab?
Is that where all the metrics are?
Correct. So,
Yeah.
so on this very
Yes.
first page, there's kind of a lot happening, of course, and
Yeah.
on our videos, we'll go over that more, everything like that. Again, some of this stuff, most of it. But what you'll end up doing is you can punch in some of these blue variables like this.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not looking to get super, super into the weeds because there's a lot happening, and you
Yeah.
just like, hey, I just want to briefly overview of like, does this deal check or does it not check? If there's a gun to
Yeah.
my head, can I pull the trigger in 90 seconds or not? And
Mm-hmm.
you can punch in a couple of these blue variables.
Just
scroll
get like a back of the napkin type
exactly
of analysis.
with
Yeah.
that right there. And it'll just pop up like,
Mm-hmm.
does it make
Cap
sense?
rate. Yeah.
Sense? And so now I think this just gives like a 30,000-foot overview. You can go back to the assumptions if you really wanted to sink your teeth in and
Mm-hmm.
figure out, okay, we got some revenue growth, maybe the expenses, some vacancies. You can punch those in, but just from the overview, you're going to have a quick understanding, of what kind of the main metrics when I, go to position my deals to bankers and, limited
Yeah.
partners and things like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but this is a pretty cool calculator. I've had a guy help me. I've built out some other stuff myself, but
Yeah.
it's like, when I'm going in position, and here's another thing too that I'm really, really working on that I'm hoping to have, done sooner than later too. But like a proposal for financing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go, you know how it is. I never, and we'll, we talk about these in our calls, but like I never ask for money for banks. It's always, hey, I'm willing to offer you, I'm a mortgage is offered right now on this property. This is
Mm-hmm.
great collateral to a mortgage that I'm willing to offer you. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm never saying, hey, do you mind lending me money? It's like I'm
Never
offering
going
you something
begging.
here. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what I'm working on is creating like kind of a template here, and I'm still building it out, but I'm really like hot and bothered about it
Mm-hmm.
because okay, here's what it is. Here's the address. Here's a couple pictures. Here's kind of the table of contents, just a summary, appendix, and basically we have this kind of again template where when you have an opportunity, this is already built out. You can just kind of say, hey,
Yeah.
here's a couple lines of it. Here's where I currently am in my portfolio. My personal financial statement is below. Here's where my current properties are. And you can scroll
Mm-hmm.
down and then on top of it, say, hey, not to mention too, I also included my pro forma and my underwriting for you
Right.
to do with your credit team. In my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, I just think it just shows so much competency.
Yeah.
And of course, uh, your financial stuff's going to matter, but also if they're like, dang, this guy's really sharp
He's
and
all over it.
he
Yeah.
knows what he talks about, they're going to look at you like, okay, should I lend this guy money or should I lend this other guy money? And then at that
Mm-hmm.
point, you end up becoming kind of the hot commodity, the person they're calling to take you out to lunch kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's maybe more than you care to hear on a quick little call like this, but I'm just like,
No, no, it's good to
yeah,
see it kind of you're already building some of this out. You've got the standard templates you can plug and play, right? You can change the
yeah.
assumptions as you go, but it's nice to have that ready so that when you're there, you're not having to go scramble to figure that out, right? And slow things down, slow down the momentum.
No kidding. And so I'm just like, I'm hoping, I, again, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I just want to like figure out how can I, from a baseball analogy, I'm a baseball guy. How
Mm-hmm.
can I get you like standing up on second base instead of you having a battle at the plate just to get on? It's like,
Yeah.
how can I provide you with this information and the materials that you need in order to be like, dang, I already have all this stuff. I know what to say. I know the conversations. I know the vocabulary when I'm speaking with limited partners or when I'm raising capital or bankers or whatever, to
Mm-hmm.
where they're not looking at me as like a novice and I've got all the credit in the background to back up what I'm saying. So that's
Yeah.
kind of where I hope to put you in that
No,
position,
that's helpful because I mean I think for me too, it's like as you're getting started, that just gives you more confidence and you come across more confident, right? If you're coming in without that and you're a banker or somebody else sitting on the other side of the table, they're going to be a little bit more skeptical about what you're trying to do, right? I mean, if the numbers bear out, they bear out, but at the same time, it helps to have all of that sort of buttoned up and ready to go, and it just puts on puts your best foot forward.
100%, 100%. Did you happen to get a chance to let me make sure? I want to say if this is in here too. In this, did you see the seller financing calculator?
I have not looked at that one yet.
Okay. Well, either way, you can, but you have access to this Google Drive, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
sweet. This is another one. Again, we'll go over this as time goes on when opportunities present themselves. But this is another calculator just to familiarize yourself with. Again, the yellow boxes are all the variables, but I think
Mm-hmm.
a really important piece that I think for me when I was first starting about at least flipping from residential to commercial was again, you're in this space where, like, you got a lot bigger numbers to play with, and it can be a little spooky if you don't have the understanding of the metrics or the ratios. You don't have maybe the confidence to have those conversations with bankers and things. But what I discovered is, if I'm trying to buy $1 million building, most of the time, you've got to show up with the 200, the 250 down. And so,
Hmm.
kind of after I discovered, like, wait a minute, I can have this seller leave money in the deal and
Finance. Yeah.
and finance the down payment. Yeah. So I never say,
Hmm.
like, take a second mortgage, never finance it. It's always just saying things like you leave money in the deal. And so
Hmm.
I do a video. I probably, can do another one. And, this is more of like an onboarding kind of call to get over questions and iron stuff out. But realistically, it's like this has been a key for me. Just last year I bought maybe just over 6 million in real estate, which isn't a lot, which isn't a little, but I
Hmm.
did it with like no money of my own. Like, I did some partnerships with other people. I took some syndications, that, but I did 3 buildings where I had the seller finance a down payment, and the deal still checked out. So
In those scenarios, was the seller already thinking about that? They're probably not going to come in and lead with that. But when you talk to them about leaving money in the deal, how did they react? Is that something they really had to go back and think about? Did they had to consult their accountant, or are they like, "Hey, we get it. I don't want to pay all these capital gains. I love that idea." Like, what is the response from these owners?
well, that's the best question that you can ask, because I switch my mindset thinking when I'm talking these. First, I'm trying to pry out, hey, uh, what's the sitch? What are you gonna do with the money when you sell it? Like, haha. Well, I got to pay Uncle Sam, because most of the time, some of these building owners are also owner occupants, and not a ton of them are
Mm-hmm.
investors. So they
Yeah.
sell their business and then they sell their building, and it's like, yay! Now I've got $2 million in cash, and sitting in a war chest. But now they have no new money coming in, so they have like lost
Right.
that stream of revenue. They got to pay Uncle Sam. So how I have this conversation is I pry out of them, having a good dialogue first. Then they tell me they're going to pay this Uncle Sam guy. And then I kind of have this conversation that I say this, like, instead of this being me versus you, it's actually you and I versus Uncle Sam. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I first position myself as a seller consultant. Like, you're a steel fabricator, you're a glass supply guy. You're not in the real estate business the way that I am. And so once they discover that, like, I'm on the same team as them trying to save them money, because I say, look, after I kind of present this top portion here, it's just saying, like, this is a traditional way of closing a deal. We can do
Yeah.
the regular way. That's not the point. I'm just in the business of squeezing every single ounce of juice out of properties. And that also is on the selling side. So I say,
Mm-hmm.
maybe if you want to find a way to not only continue to create a passive stream of cash flow coming your way, because you just don't have any new money coming in, you're down at the beach with your wife drinking Mai Tai, you have new money coming in every month, but also too, you're going to pay a lot less capital gains. And so my accountant and I created
Mm-hmm.
this together. So
Got it.
that's what gives me like a ton of confidence that
And
I
this
did
is something
it
you could
right.
you present to them, or you show them.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I print this thing out and I walk them through, like, hey, because I did my homework, I did the title search, I know what they bought it for, I know if they have a
Mm-hmm.
mortgage, I know all of this stuff. And then I
Mm-hmm.
say, look, what if we saved you X amount in taxes? What if we gave you this X amount of cash flow? And what if, this ends up being X amount of, income or return over the next couple of years, or whatever it is?
Right.
And then they're like, I'd be okay. What's the catch or whatever? I said, look, this is what you do. And I say,
Mm-hmm.
I never mention mortgages. I never mention seller. I just say, go consult with your accountant. Say, I'm not a magician and I can't predict the future, but I'm willing to bet that your accountant is going to ask if you can leave more money in the deal. And so
And
literally they take this thing back, and not every time, but again, it was like 4 times, 3 times this year where I was asking to have them leave like 300 grand. One guy left like 600 grand in the deal.
wow.
Because
Hey, so
the account was like, you should do this. This makes a lot of sense.
yeah. So two quick questions. I guess one is, is there any anxiety on their part, or do they realize they're taking kind of like that second position? And is there any anxiety around that typically? And then I guess my other question is, in some cases, they may be thinking about doing a 1031, right? Have you had situations where somebody's, hey, my plan is to do a 1031? In that case, you can't really sell them on this.
Right.
What's been your experience there?
So first answer if they have anxiety about a second position mortgage, because that's what it is, right? They're taken behind a bank.
Mm-hmm.
I have spoken, and I'm not a litigation expert here. I'm not an attorney, but what my attorney said, because I said, what recourse does a second mortgage like actually have? And a second mortgage position lien holder literally has the same recourse as a first position lien. So if there's $1 million building, the bank brings 750 and the seller leaves in 250.
Mm-hmm.
That second mortgage, as long as it's recorded and it's drawn up by an attorney, he has the same recourse
Same
as the
rights. Yeah.
position. He can foreclose just as fast as the first guy can. But of course,
Okay.
the proceeds from the foreclosure hits the bank first, and then whatever's left
Right.
over he gets. So his risk
Okay.
is that, he's having to pay the guy first. But
Mm-hmm.
if the building is worth $1.3 million and they sell it for 1.1,
It
he
should
can
be
get all his money
comfortable.
back plus a little bit of a profit,
Okay. Okay.
So he has the same amount of recourse as the first position. So I kind of nipped that initial hesitation in the bud, let
Mm-hmm.
them know that you have just as much leverage as the bank does, and that gives them like a sense of comfort.
Okay. Okay.
And then I'm trying to think what your second question was.
Oh, if they're kind of positioning this as if they're going to do a
Yeah,
1031, right? Would they still be open to something like this instead? Or is that
yeah.
a bigger
So
advantage to the seller?
yeah, 100%. So as long as like if someone is 1031ing, and I'll be candid, I have not experienced somebody that was 1031ing that deal yet, so I don't want
Okay.
to come across like I know the answer to this. But what I've done, and it wasn't because a person was 1031, they just was like, I don't want to leave money in the deal. I'd rather pay capital gains. Like told me this. I'd rather pay the
Mm,
capital gains. My wife doesn't care. We're going to the beach. We don't care. Like we're out. And
yeah.
was okay, understood. I get it. So what I do then is that's when I go literally to my group, to our group here, to the collective.
Mm-hmm.
I say, hey, I've got an opportunity. I've got a deal. It's $1 million building. We're looking to raise 250. We've already got terms from a couple banks for the deal. It's good debt. It's a good building.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do is I position it, say we're looking for 250, whether it's one guy or whether it's five guys, and any amount of money. Like let's say that I called you, you said you wanted in on this deal, and you brought the 250.
Mm-hmm.
I would offer a 50-50 equity split. I do all the work as the general partner. You're a limited partner. Your exposure is your injected cash.
Mm-hmm.
You get 100% of the cash flow until your initial principal is repaid, whether that's through cash flow, whether that's through a refinance, whether that's through a sale, like whatever it is. I don't get
Got
a
it.
dime until you get all your money back. So that incentivizes me to make the deal fatter, to
Mm-hmm.
increase the cash flow on it, whether through refi or cash flow. But for my side of that point too, is I want the equity because I want to take depreciation. Like that's kind of another game that I'm sure where
Yeah.
I want
Offset. Mm-hmm.
exactly. I want to offset some income. So I want to offer that. And maybe that's for you, maybe it's not, but it's for some people in our group that just have dry powder. They're like, I want the freaking cash flow. Like,
Yeah.
the depreciation isn't that important to me. I want cash flow. So for that person on our team, whether it is, and I've done deals with people that aren't on our team yet, but that's kind of the way that I do it. And then I haven't had an issue raising the capital for that.
Got it.
I'm fine.
But is your goal to do this with no money down for the most part, to actually use and leverage that seller financing as much as possible?
Absolutely. Because
And is there a mix there too between, you know, bank funding versus, seller funding? Or if the seller came in and said, hey, I'll finance you 100%, would you take that deal? Or is there some sort of optimal mix that you're looking for?
No. I mean, it's the hill that I'm willing to die on, and you'll discover at
Oh,
least.
I've heard cash on cash. I've
Yes,
heard you say
cash
it. Yeah.
on cash. Yes, the cash on cash return. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't like the cash flow is great. It'll come. It'll play its part one day down the road. The depreciation is the biggest key for me because I've got other income from a few other things, and I've got to offset that.
Yeah.
Also, that cash on cash. If I can have no money or very, very little, because I've got some money and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I look at it and think if I can have very little money of my own in a deal, I would much rather, because it allows you just to do unlimited deals, right? Like
Right. Right.
if
Gives
you
you
have
more
$1 million
opportunities.
cash and you have any money in any deals, you can, there's, how it is. You understand math.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Yep.
That's kind of the most important piece to me is like, I will give cash flow away to other people. If I can borrow the bank's money, I can pay them back with cheaper inflated dollars, and our rents go up every single year. So that's
Mhm.
maybe more of a philosophical way. But the depreciation for the tax purposes today, and then one day down the road, we'll get some cash flow, as it goes on. But it allows other people, other investors who would have otherwise probably not been able to invest in a deal because they want to have access to the ones that I'm finding. They're happy to get 50% of something versus 100% of nothing. So it's kind of like a
Yeah.
win that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense.
So that's kind of where my head is, and I'm not an expert at it. I'm just like, I spend time with my accountant. He's
Hmm.
like not a boring guy. He's a good guy, but he's like, man, if you can find a way to like get your little sermon out to the world, dude. He's like, you're on to something. So
Yeah. Yeah.
if
The
I've got
secret
my accountant
sauce.
blessing, I'm into it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I mean, I think this. I mean, for me, this is why I wanted to kind of join. Right, is that it's almost like a starter kit. Like it, it will accelerate what is it you're trying to accomplish. If I did try to do this on my own, it may take years to
Yeah,
build all these models, put together the team, develop the relationships. Right, it's almost like you got a head start in terms of what you're trying to do. And I think when we talked on the phone, I was like, look, I don't have time to like do all the trial and error and learning from experience. Like I want to jumpstart this, but I mean, I want to do it, pace it the right way. Right? I don't want to just jump into anything. But at the same time, this is definitely going to give me a pretty big kickstart. I think.
100%. And like you said, you're in this group. We're not talking like, yeah, even when we say commercial, like I'm not even talking about storage units or apartment units. I'm like, we're talking specifically like industrial warehouses.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in our group is going after the exact same
Exact
thing.
same thing.
So you
Yeah.
were around a bunch of action takers because they've all, paid a tuition to be in this. So you're around it. You're around people that are hungry. So,
Mm-hmm.
but you're really in the right place, and I'm excited to have you. And as we get going, you've got my cell phone. Like whenever something pops up or you've got something on your mind, like text me.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
want to help you succeed. Like I just want to be your teammate and
Yeah.
um, help you get where you want to go. So, but what thoughts or questions do you have? I want to make sure that before our call tomorrow night, it's at 6 Central.
Yeah.
If you
Yep.
have anything else on your mind or whatever, I want to answer it.
No, not really. I mean, I think for me, it's like I wanted to kind of get this established. I wanted to kind of start to look through, all the tools and resources. I wanted to kind of understand how the model's working. I mean, I understand the metrics, right? But it's nice to have this sort of laid out there for you because I can actually start to go through and play out some scenarios. And I was, I've started kind of like reaching out to brokers. I mean, I've got a network of brokers that I work with. So I'm trying to kind of figure out what brokers are out here. Here's my challenge. What brokers are out there that are going to know or understand the areas that we're trying to invest in, right? I think that's going to be my struggle because, the people I know are not looking for industrial warehouses, right? At, 15,000 square feet. So I got to figure out how to find some people who can go and help and who specialize in that. And I don't even know if that exists, right? I'm making calls, I'm talking to people. No one so far has said, hey, yeah, I got a guy who understands that and deals in that. This is the person you need to talk to. So I got to go figure out who those people are as a first step before I can really leverage any of this. So I got to get over that hump. So I don't know if you have any thoughts or advice there, but that's, I'm just at this point, I'm going to start cold calling and just, go back to your thing. Your thing was, hey, I'm not maybe not be interested in this property, but let me kind of tell you what I'm looking for. What do you have? Right.
Right.
Sort of that approach. So I'm thinking that may be the best thing to do at this point, unless you think there's another approach I need to consider.
No, I think that's a good start right there. Because I think you cast enough nets and enough lines in the water, you're gonna snag something, right? So one
Mm-hmm.
other thing too that I'm starting to do that I think I can bring value to people more in our group is when I'm making a video on something, I'm saying, hey, if you're a broker, you're a real estate guy, whoever it is in commercial, like DM me, and I don't care where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we can do a deal, because what's going to end up happening, actually happened to another guy in our group. Some guy hit me up and was like, hey, are you buying down in like Jacksonville, Florida? And I've got a guy in Jacksonville in our group who I'll introduce you to tomorrow. And
Yeah.
Dude, I've got a guy that's in Jacksonville, and literally they're looking at a building. Like, I think he's looking at it like right now with them, like today at like 1:30 Central. Like, they're looking at a building.
Hmm.
And that happened like a week and a half ago. So I was like, damn, what if I was to just, whenever I'm making a video, instead of saying, oh, follow me, say, hey, DM me if you are a real estate professional, whatever
Right.
city that you're in, because we bang enough drums around, and eventually there's going to connect something, and maybe there's going to be a guy in Charlotte. Hey, I've got a
Yeah.
guy in industrial real estate in Charlotte. Like, damn it, I got a guy, and I can just like
Hmm.
connect you to, and then you got a warm lead with somebody that is already in your city. So that's
Right.
what
We've got some credibility because we're part of this group already. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think it could just like kind of intertwine a little bit
Hmm.
more, and I've got a decent reach, and so maybe that, as I start casting that net out, there'll be a people that will flood in, and we can just like kind of connect the dots that way. But
Yeah.
the way I'm going to
Yeah.
try and present more leads to you, but for you, I would say, when you're driving, just kind of getting out of that comfort zone and just saying, hey, doing that little 12-second, 15-second script of, hey, this is what I'm looking for.
Hmm. Yeah.
No, you're not listing this, but this is what I'm looking for. What do you got, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe they can put you in touch with somebody that they know who might
That's
have
right.
something, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You might have a guy, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. The hardest part's getting started, right? So once I can find somebody or a group of people can help, be out on the lookout for those types of properties. That's when I think things will start to kind of pick up steam and snowball. But at this point, it's just like, it's finding that for me is like, that is my number one focus right now.
And like you said, it's not going to happen on the first call, right? Like any like a
Right.
contractor or a stockbroker or whatever. It's not going to ever happen on the first time. But I'm like, play the game. Even I mean, the guys that I run with now, I mean, I'm really confident, happy with the guys that I'm running with now. But man, it took time to kind of get to that, and
Yeah.
uh, but that's where I'm thinking of too is if I can kind of say, hey, cut out all the crap that I did that I thought was wrong that got me to here.
Yep.
Jared, start here, like start where I'm
Yeah.
at
You can do
now.
it much
Like
quicker.
you can, it's quicker. You can get there faster now versus having to
Hmm.
put all the stuff that I did.
Yeah.
So that's what I hope
Yeah.
to help.
Yeah, and one of the things I've done too is I started to create a directory, right, of all of the local commercial real estate brokers, names, numbers, everything. And I'm just going to start going down the list and like just reaching out. So pulling that together too, just so I've got a database, not really a database, but like a data table of every broker in the area that I think I should be working with or could be working with too. To your point, you got to cast a pretty wide net when it comes to this. So that's what I'm, trying to prep for.
Yeah, man. And what's going to happen too is like you said, that first guy that you call or might not be the person, but when you are making those calls and you've got that kind of database, I think how you'll be different immediately because everybody, and I've said on the phone and stuff before, but it's like, hey, instead of saying, hey, I would like to buy commercial real estate. Do you have somebody that sells commercial real estate? That's so
Hmm.
generic. And
Yeah.
I think it kind of, if someone called me and said that, it would scream that like, you don't know what you're talking about, right? Like
Right, right. Should I
someone would,
waste my time on this person?
yeah, I'd rather spend my time doing something else. But if someone says, "Hey, my name is Jared. I know I'm over here. I'm in a little pocket over here in Charlotte." One thing that I have noticed about this particular area has got a lot of industrial. I'm looking for something 22,000 to 45,000 feet, 18-foot ceiling heights. Do you have anything kind of in this little pocket? You
Hmm.
automatically is like, okay, this guy is a dude. He knows exactly what he wants and what he's talking
Yeah.
about. Well, I'm actually more on the storage space. Okay, well, who's your guy that's in industrial? Let me call you.
Hmm.
Let me connect you to Matt over here, and then you got
Yeah.
a trajectory versus having to play bingo. And
That's a great, great thought. Yep. Yep. I like that.
so just that vocabulary, I just believe it like changes the opinion of that person of you on the phone in like 10 seconds. And now
Yeah.
you're kind of establishing your dominance and your confidence, and they're going to connect you with somebody that's kind of at that higher level of vocabulary.
Yeah. Speaking their language. Yep.
And
Yep. No, that's
100%.
good. Good thought. Good thought.
So,
Yeah. I think that's,
cool.
yeah. No other questions at this point. I mean, I'm sure things will come up as we go, but
Yeah.
I gotta start reaching out and feel like I've got what I need to get started. And so, yeah, excited to get going.
Man, we're excited to have you too. And so what we'll do is tomorrow night, again, it's we're having my leasing agent on tomorrow, and he's
Okay.
kind of going to go over, hey, what's the differences between a full service lease, a triple net lease. How does he find tenants? How does he vet tenants? Looking
Mm-hmm.
at balance sheets, discovering their solvency, like just having an understanding of how they, because I don't spend any time leasing real estate. I just buy them and he leases them out and I pay him a commission.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of where
And
it's like,
does he specialize in those types of tenants too?
mhm.
Or is he kind of like across the board?
Only like this is where you will get to hear, but it's like I've got a broker that sells me the real estate. I've got 3 or 4 bankers that, will lend me the money. I've got
Mm-hmm.
this one lead. He's like my main guy. I just met another guy actually last week, but he's my main guy right now. And where you'll get to, it's crazy to say this, but like, and it will happen faster than you think. It's you buy 1 building or 2 buildings of 10, 20,000 feet, and then your leasing agent come in and say, okay, I know exactly what Jared's buying now. I'm developing his risk appetite in my mind, so I know he's buying these types of buildings with these types of ceiling heights and this type of visibility from the highway. Like I'm starting to see a trend and a consistency here. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to go start making calls to tenants that
Mm.
potentially want to rent Jared's space when he buys the next building in 6 months. So he starts having this little inventory, not where these people are wanting to leave their lease already, but he's got an inventory of like 10, 12
Yeah.
potential businesses. And then the banks on top of it, they see the consistency and the track records of the buildings that I'm buying. So they get comfortable with my risk appetite. And so when I
Yeah.
make the call, I'm like, hey, I got this other building. It's like, okay, well, would you not call Millennial Bank or would you not call Westell Bank if I give you a term sheet right now? Because they want that lead because they know of the consistency
Mm-hmm.
that I'm bringing. So
Yeah.
they'll offer me like their highest and best terms and ask me to not go call anybody else. Now
Yeah.
that doesn't
Yeah.
happen every time, but they start to develop that like, okay, I know what Nolan's going to do. My leasing guy knows what types of tenants are going to rent the space. So then it just creates this velocity and this kind of compounding effect. And it
Oh
just
yeah. Just
goes
it's like
down.
group. Yeah. Got it all grooved. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're working for you.
Exactly, because they're getting commission when the deal closes,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
so
Yeah. I
I'm not
love
an
it.
expert,
I
but it's
love the
like
approach. I
works,
love the approach. Love the concept. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited about it, but we'll get you there. I mean, I'm excited about it, and of course, anything else that's on your mind, again, you just shoot me a text.
All right.
I'll be your biggest fan, your biggest teammate, man. Just holler at me kind of whenever you need something from me, okay?
I will. No, I appreciate it. I'll be on
Okay.
tomorrow evening.
Okay, that sounds good, Jared. Look forward to it, brother. Call me if anything else changes. See you
All
tomorrow.
right. Take care of those kids.
I'll try.
All
Thank
right.
you. See ya.
Bye.